Does this sound familiar? You've been swept up by the wave of stress and you're desperate to climb off of it. You just don't know how. And you're pulling out your hair like a maniac, wondering, is it ever going to end? Today, we're going to talk about ways to decompress as an author. Welcome to Pen to Paper. I'm Leah Lindman, author of the Canadian Reminiscence series. So glad that you could join me here today, whether you are a new watcher or you have subscribed to my channel. Thank you for being here. We're going to talk about de-stressing because May is the Mental Illness Awareness Month. So I thought that this would be a helpful tool if you are an author and there's different things that stress you out. We're going to go through 3 different kinds of stressors and how can we relieve that pressure so that we can excel and do the best that we can do with the written word. Now, before I even get into the 3 different areas that we deal with stress, I wanted to mention about that wave that I talked about at the beginning and how it's easy to, as I said, be caught up in that wave and just kind of throw our hands up in the air and wonder, well, maybe we'll land somewhere soft and fuzzy at the end and we'll survive it. But most of the time when we allow ourselves to think that way and just giving it up to chance, that we get a few bumps and bruises along the way. So I want to save you those bumps and bruises by helping you realize that being intentional about the decisions we make, about the stressors in our lives, will give us a greater sense of clarity, of the path ahead, will give us a greater sense of control, and you will be able to find joy in the decisions you make concerning these 3 areas. So be sure that when you go through this list of decisions you need to make, that you are doing it with intention and not with the sense that you have no control, because you really do. So let's go over the 3 areas. The first area I want to talk about are deadlines. Now, the first tip I'm going to give you, super easy, super simple. If you have a deadline that is self-imposed and you don't need to meet that deadline because perhaps there are other things in your life that need to take priority. Maybe there's a family member that is ill, or you are about to give birth, or you just didn't time things properly, you didn't properly foresee how the deadline could impact your life, then just move it and give yourself more time, give yourself more grace to finish what you need to finish. But perhaps you're on a deadline where you've promised beta readers that you are going to send out your manuscript at a certain time, or your editor, or maybe you're traditionally published and you really don't have a lot of leeway with your deadlines. Now we're going to get into the tips that are for you. So you can't push it. All right. Reverse engineer your steps. Let's say you have a certain amount of months that you need to finish a first draft, or you need to have a certain amount of edits done. Then just take a look at the time that you have and then see how you could take that big project and then break it down into small steps. And be very clear about these small steps. Week 1, this is what I need to get done. And then bring it down to even day 1, this is what I need to get done. The certain word count or a certain amount of chapters that are edited. When I was in high school, my teachers talked about it like it was a big elephant that you needed to eat, like a school project or an essay. And they said and they had it all planned out, right? Like you have certain lessons, and by a certain lesson, you need to have this part of the project done, and then by this lesson, another part of the project done. And it was basically looking at that gigantic elephant, and you don't feel like you could eat it all, but if you take one bite at a time, then you'll get it done. Okay, obviously, I'm not advocating eating elephants. It's just an analogy. But that's where I'm going with this, is take that big elephant, that big project, break it down. Now, once you've broken down your steps, the next tip I'm going to give you is you have that step for the day, whatever your goal is, push everything else aside that is not necessary. So what do I mean by this? Well, let's say you routinely watch TV shows at night. So maybe you don't get to watch TV shows for however long this certain deadline is. Is it really that important compared to your passion for this project, you wanting to see it get done or needing to see it get done? It can wait. Maybe it's not that. Maybe it's other things that you feel you need to get done. But when you take a really good, long, hard look at it, it can wait. Maybe it's extra projects around the house that you're excited to get into. But again, is it necessary in order to see this work done with your book? Maybe not. So for the meantime, while you are on your goals, once you set a goal for the day, do not deviate from that goal. And if possible, do that goal first before anything else in the day. So let's say if you're able to, now this is a really difficult one for me because my main goal for the day is to teach my kids. I homeschool my kids. So it's not exactly always possible for me to get the editing done first unless I wake up at 5 in the morning, which because I'm in my third trimester, I need a lot of sleep. So that doesn't always pan out for me. But once I'm done teaching for the day, before I do anything else, I carve out that time to edit, because that's my main goal for the day with my book. But if you can, do it in the morning before you do anything else, if that is a luxury for you. So that's another tip. Next tip I have is whatever hours you decide you're going to work, you work every hour, but every hour, so you work for 55 minutes, 55 minutes. Then take a little break. Take a break to stretch, walk around, go outside, drink some water, get a little snack. And then you're thinking, yeah, but then if I break my concentration and I don't want to break a scene or I'm right in the groove, trust me, your body is going to be very grateful that you've gotten up from your stationary position for 55 minutes and you move around a little bit and you think it's going to completely break the groove of what's happening. But when you come back to it, your mind is refreshed, your body is refreshed. This is a practice that many high performance people who are at their peak, who have so many projects and so many deadlines, they do this and it just helps reset their minds and their bodies for the next hour ahead. So this is something I highly suggest you do. Another tip that I have for you is, as I said, when you're shifting other priorities to the side for the day, not only can you shift priorities, but you can also start shifting people you love to the side. And instead of just doing that and then they're all confused as to why you don't want to spend time with them or why you're maybe you don't converse with them as much, just make sure that you tell your family who you're living with that this is something really important that needs to get done, let's say in the next 3 months, and you're on a crunch and you don't mean to push them aside, but you really do need this extra time to do the work. Just let them know graciously that you don't mean to push them aside, but you do need to give extra time to this deadline. But then also make sure you do set aside intentional time to spend time with your loved ones. Now, maybe your friends that you occasionally see, you may not be able to see them as much. If there's a close group of friends that you hang out with every week, every night, every second night, whatever it is, maybe just say, you know, I can only handle once a week or maybe once every 2 weeks because I've got this crunch, and just let them know. And they're going to be so grateful to you that you didn't just move ahead. It makes them feel like they're important to you, that you love them, that they're heard, and that they're important to you. So do that for deadlines. These are all different tips to just help you de-stress. And as you can tell with all the tips and steps I've given you, these are all very intentional choices that you need to make, and that once you've made them, you feel you have a level of control, and you feel like you can take joy in the fact that this is something that you can move forward with and not feel overwhelmed. The second stressor that I want to mention, it is a kind of goes along with this, but let's say you have a very big workload. Now, we all have a to-do list, and sometimes our to-do lists are actually not items to do, but they're projects to do, and projects that have like a certain amount of items to do within the project. And sometimes we'd have too many projects on hand. So if there's one major project that's a priority that must get done, that you are most passionate about right now, push the other projects aside for 3 to 6 months. That gives you time and energy to just focus on the one thing you really want to get done. Because what happens is you're going to be trying to have your hands in all the pies, trying to do all these projects, but you can't give your proper focus and attention and love and passion to the project that maybe is calling to you the most or pulling you the most in a certain direction, just because you feel like, I can't let these go because if I let go, I'm less of a person, or I'm not as strong as I thought I was, or that I tell people I am. Has nothing to do with that. Just focus on the one thing that is bringing you joy, that is moving the needle in the direction you want to go, and everything else can wait a few months, and then pick up the next project that needs your attention the most, or that you want to pour into the most. And again, that will give you a sense of control and a sense of joy over what you're doing. The last stressor I want to go into is workspace. Now, maybe there's some of you out there who are saying, oh, but you don't understand. I can work in any situation. Yeah, I actually get you, because I can do the same thing too. I can work in a quiet space. I can work in a space in a crowd of 1,000 people. I can work in a messy space. I can work in a clean space. However, and I've tried this with myself, so if you don't believe me, maybe try it yourself. Take your computer or whatever you write with and go into a place that's messy and work at it for a few minutes, and then go to a place that's clean and then work at it for a few minutes, and see if you can tell the subtle difference in like you can breathe. That your subconscious will be very thankful to you that you took maybe a little extra time to tidy your workspace, or to find a space that just allows your body and your mind and your creativity to inhabit instead of stuff and mess. Just try it out. Another tip that I have for workspace cleanliness or workspace is have a workspace that's free of distractions. Again, I'm the type of person, yes, I can work in a space where all my kids are running around and screaming, or I can work in a quiet space, and I've done both. And definitely the workspace that is free of distraction is the nicest space to work in. But I'm not just talking about noise, okay? Because you can work in a space and have beautiful quiet music playing, which is noise. I'm also talking about your cell phone, notifications on your computer. Find a way, closing the tab of your email. Find a way that your workspace is your sacred space, that nothing else is trying to come in and grab your attention. Now for me, it's kids, but for other people, it's the pinging on their phones or calls or emails or whatever it is for you. Figure out what makes you tick and what kind of takes your focus away from what you're doing, and figure out a way to silence it. And that way, remember I said work on the hour, every hour take a break. Well, for those 50 or 55 minutes that you're working and not taking a break, you want to be giving your all. You want to just have your complete focus and attention on what you're doing. So that way, when you get to your break, you're not feeling like, oh, I don't deserve this. No, you do, because you've been working hard on just focusing on what you need to focus on. My last tip for Workspace is, I'm blanking. I'm going to quickly take a look at my list. Oh yes, routine to decompress. You could just jump into working, which is fine, but something that's going to help your mind. We go a lot in life by triggers, and we're not always aware of the triggers that help us feel or think in a certain space. But find a routine that helps you be free of distractions, helps you to decompress, helps shift your mind from that frustrating call you just had 5 minutes ago, or dealing with a child that needs more training, or whatever was frustrating you or stressing you out. Find a way to, a new trigger to trigger your mind to, oh, okay, this is my time to focus on what I love to do, which is writing or editing or publishing a book. So whether that's lighting a candle, prepping some tea or coffee, or getting a glass of water, or, putting your nice calm music or whatever other music you listen to when you write, find that routine. It doesn't need to be long, but it just takes your brain, shifts it, sets it in the direction you want it to go. And when you're sitting down, you're ready to type or write, you just go for it and you're ready. Those are my tips for ways for authors to decompress from the possible stressors that they have in their life. And these are tips that I've come across over the years from other sources, or just come up with myself, that I find have really, really, really been helpful to me. So I hope that they're helpful to you. Which one do you think would be most helpful to you? You can write that down in the comments below. If you're listening to this on my podcast, please leave a review and write down what has been helpful for you to listen to. I really appreciate your presence here, and I wish to serve you more and more as the weeks come by. It has been a while since I've done this, and I'm just happy to be back and sharing and teaching and hopefully providing inspiration for you on your writing journey. So remember, today is your day to write. Go ahead and do that. I will see you next week with some more AuthorTube content.